IRL streamer Suspendas gets caught in another disgusting controversy. This time he had sex with a stripper in front of a child.
Okay, so we see the child on the bed with the phone. The door is closed.
Suspendas has blown through almost all of his life savings in an effort to provide a ball and out-of-control lifestyle for his Thai bar girl wife, RiRi. He has bought multiple houses, cars, gives her cash almost daily, and has even helped to start a few businesses for RiRi. In return, she has shown little to no affection for Sus. She lied to him, stole from him, and helped him get dependent on drugs. Did I mention she's 20 years younger than Sus? Today we go down the Suspendas rabbit hole and explore the build-up to his current situation in life. I hope you enjoy. Suspendas' real name is Avrom Merlin, and he was born on September 11th, 1980 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Today he is a 43-year-old kick live streamer. Avrom has told his viewers before that he comes from a family with money. He would even say that they had many different houses growing up, and one of them was a vacation home in Spain. Avrom's father allegedly was one of the largest shareholders of an unknown bank, and he would eventually lose everything due to being convicted of tax evasion. But before the feds closed in, Avrom's parents divorced, which meant his mother was rewarded with a large sum of his father's money before the IRS took him for all he had. Although he says his family was pretty well off growing up, Avrom also says that his mother was abusive and would oftentimes subject him and his brother to the violence. Because Avrom is so old, the majority of his younger years were not documented online, but judging by the way he acts now and the things he has documented online starting in his 30s, I think it's safe to say Avrom was never considered, quote, normal.
Oh no, is it too?
The first traces of Avrom on the internet include an emo clothing brand that had the goal of selling women's clothes to men, which let me just say, wow, very ahead of the times, Avrom. He also tried to start a modeling agency for gothic and emo girls, which ended up being very controversial, but we'll get to that. Suspendas created SoFetch clothing in the year 2010. He even made it official by filing for a trademark on March 23rd, 2010. Although they are not still selling clothes today, their Facebook page is still public, which showcases all of their old designs and merch. As soon as I laid my eyes on these pieces of clothing, I realized that our boy Avrom had some insanely abnormal taste, which meant his brand was targeting a very, very small market. Look at these designs. They are truly some of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. My favorite part about the brand's old Facebook page is all the pictures of Avrom that are posted. Keep in mind that all of these pictures are when Avrom is 32 years old. Sus claims that he sold his clothing brand before moving to Japan. I find this very hard to believe, but you never know. There is no record of sale for his business anywhere online, and the URL now redirects to a YouTube channel with the name Offline Forever and a location of Japan. Going off of that alone, I think Sus either didn't sell the business and owns that YouTube channel, or some random Japanese person bought the SoFetch clothing domain because he wanted that URL for his YouTube channel. Either way, judging by the brand's Facebook page, it doesn't seem like they ever had much of a following. So if he did sell this brand, it couldn't have been for much. The name SoFetch clothing kinda sounded familiar to me when I first heard it, so naturally I googled the name. Then I remembered why it's so familiar. The saying "so fetch" comes from the movie Mean Girls, when one of the characters is trying to turn it into a popular saying.
That is so fetch.
I'm not sure why Suspendas would think that he could take a saying from a major movie production and just pass it off as his own. That would be like creating a new brand called Just Do It and then expecting Nike to just let that happen. It goes without saying, but the trademark for SoFetch was terminated on grounds of copyright in the year 2014. I doubt Avrom actually had to pay any money to anyone because, like I said, I highly doubt they had a lot of sales, but I just thought it was important to let you know that even the first brand he started got in trouble for stealing ideas. Around the same time as he was attempting to build SoFetch clothing, he was running a quote modeling agency for gothic and emo girls, which certainly fits the Avrom Merlin persona. This modeling agency was called Alex Addicted, and surprisingly it was actually pretty popular on Facebook during the year 2012. I honestly have no clue how it could make anyone money, but I don't think it was about money. I think these girls wanted to say they were part of a modeling agency, and I think Avrom wanted to see hot girls and say he owned a modeling agency. There is no evidence of this agency ever making money. Just having having a small social media following. Even in 2012, clout was a hell of a drug. Regardless of the money side of things, Alex Addicted was very well known in this modeling space of Facebook, and it wasn't for the best reasons. Alex Addicted was accused of asking underage models for nude photos, being verbally abusive, and even stalking some of their models.
Saying some very, very inappropriate things to people and asking her young, like very young, underage models for nudes.
During this modeling agency era, Avrom was 32 years old, so if these accusations are true, it makes it even worse. That would make him a pedo. But as you can see, there may be some merit to these accusations. There are countless YouTube videos of girls talking about their experience with Alex Addicted, as well as many screenshots of vulgar messages sent to models. And as far as actually admitting to this, Sus denies all of the illegal allegations, but does say he was part of Alex Addicted as a model. There is no solidifying proof that points to Avrom being the founder of Alex Addicted, but there are some interesting coincidences that need to be considered before you make your own opinion about it. The biggest one is that when these allegations first came up in Suspendas community, Alex Addicted unfollowed his account on social media. The next coincidence is also pretty damning. The site was supposed to be for alternative girls to gain exposure as online models, but whenever the site would post Avrom on their pages, they would make sure to include his So Fetch clothing brand in each of the pictures, whereas every other model had the Alex Addicted branding on their pictures. Even if you're still under the impression that Avrom was not the owner, he still would have to have been pretty high up in the Alex Addicted economy if they were okay with promoting his clothing brand instead of their modeling agency, which was not something they did for any other model other than Avrom. Sometime between the Alex Addicted era of Avrom's life and the year 2016, when he was 36 years old, Avrom met a Russian woman living in America who had Japanese citizenship. Now you might be wondering how a Russian woman has Japanese citizenship. Well, according to Avrom, she was in a relationship with a Japanese man before meeting Avrom, and that is how her citizenship was obtained. Surprisingly, the two fell in love, and that is what sparked the living abroad lifestyle that everyone knows Avrom for today. I think it's also important to note that initially the two did not live in Japan. They were living in the Philippines and would make visa runs to Japan when needed. I think this was due to the fact that the Philippines are cheaper and more tropical, so why not live there if you can? Their time of residing in the Philippines didn't last too long though, because as most people know, Sus steadily lived in Japan for a few years before throwing his life away with RiRi. All in all, Suspendas and the Russian woman would date for around 7 years total and then get divorced. According to Sus, this is because she now prefers women over men. Avrom was also a school teacher in Japan before he quit the stream full-time after getting put on by Ice Poseidon. The school he taught at was called Hoppa, and he taught English. He was making around $13,000 per year and living in Japan, so he wasn't doing awful, considering their average cost of living. The first month Suspendas started streaming was in November of 2020. He averaged 29 viewers the first month, which is not bad at all, and was still doing the IRL style of content he does today. One key difference between his content now and back towards the start of his career is how many events he had planned for the stream. When Avrom was still rising to his peak, he would usually be going out in public drinking and talking to girls, or what he calls Johns. On top of the John 10, Avrom would basically do just live vlogs of his day-to-day life across Asia. But instead of sitting at home all day and getting yelled at by his wife and pouring kratom into his gullet, he would go out and explore. The first event that put Suspendas on the map was when he met up with Ice Poseidon in 2022.
Yeah, alright, what's up guys? What's going on, bro?
Look at you looking all fresh with the cut, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Look
yeah.
a fucking pretty boy.
I look good, yeah.
If you don't know who Ice Poseidon is, consider yourself very lucky. Ice is one of the biggest, if not the biggest IRL streamers putting out content right now. You may know him for being a complete degenerate in public, or even scamming his viewers for around $500,000 with a crypto coin that he rug pulled.
The only people who are buying shit coins are people that have knowledge on shit coins.
When Suspendas met Ice, he was doing a subathon around Japan and making absurd money doing it. These streams are arguably Suspendas' peak streaming content, because Ice was the one setting up most of the activities through the challenges he had for his stream. They actually had a lot of interesting stuff going on. During one stream in January of 2023, they were streaming live during a whiteout blizzard on, quote, the most dangerous mountain in Japan.
Joe, where are you? I hear you.
There are not a lot of people doing things like that on stream, so naturally Ice had tens of thousands of viewers watching, which helped Suspendas build his own following. Entertaining activities were not the only thing that helped draw in viewers for this subathon though. Another huge reason they got so many viewers was because of the constant controversy that this group of degenerates would cause across the world. On December 17th, 2022, Ice Poseidon and Suspendas met a Japanese corn star named Imaga Haru. Ice would spend some time alone in a hotel room with Imaga, and once he left the room, Suspendas immediately went in and engaged in some intimate time with the woman. But unlike Ice Poseidon, Suspendas left his stream on for the entirety of the ordeal, which led to his highest viewer count of all time. Not even 2 weeks later, Suspendas would once again expose his stream to his sexual encounters. On December 28th, 2022, Suspendas met a woman named Ray and engaged in sexual acts with her on stream, but this time it went a step further. He actually exposed himself to the stream during this incident. Streamers like Avrom Merlin, aka Suspendas, have absolutely destroyed the reputation of live streamers in Asia, especially Japan. A prime example of this came during February of 2023 and is one of Suspendas' most viral clips. Here he is on a public train in Japan playing music very loudly over a speaker. It was obvious that the loud music was bothering other passengers on the train, and eventually a few voiced their displeasure. Because they're in Japan, obviously these people were speaking Japanese to Suspendas, but Sus didn't like that. He would go on to tell these people to quote, speak English, regardless of the fact that he's a guest in their country.
Yo, don't touch my Don't touch me. Don't touch my Don't touch me. These touching my
That incident alone can tell you the type of person Suspendas is, but the worst is yet to come. On March 10th, 2023, Suspendas was live with another streamer by the name of Hyub-sama at a local karaoke bar. Alongside the two streamers were two Japanese girls, and everyone had been drinking a lot. Both the girls had already passed out by the time Suspendas and Hyub-sama were leaving, and had not been intimate with either of the two throughout the entire night. But right as they were walking out the door, Suspendas decided to give one of the girls a quote, goodbye kiss, while she was basically unconscious. Unfortunately, it did not end there. After walking out the door, Suspendas comes back over to the girl and gets on top of her before proceeding to make out with her for almost a minute.
Let's get that name. I messaged you.
That's me. Oh my god. Oh man. Oh no, it's too sexy. Suspendas?
It goes without saying, but this was one of Suspendas' most vile clips. The final controversy I want to cover happened on April 8th, 2023. During this clip, Suspendas was live streaming like he normally does. There were girls, liquor, music, all of the usual stream elements. There was one unusual thing about it though. The woman that Suspendas was with had her child with her, which would normally cause any idea of a sexual encounter to go out the window, but not for Suspendas. He began to try and convince her to get intimate with absolutely no regard to her child being in the room. We can't see for sure what happened because he turned the video off, but judging by the audio, it sounds like they got busy for a few minutes, and when they were done, you can hear the woman tell her child, quote, let's go.
Baby, let's go. Baby, tara na. Tara na means let's go.
Which could very well mean that they got intimate not only on stream to thousands of people, but in front of her child. Again, there is no solid proof to the last statement, just context clues. But is this really that much of a surprise when you remember his involvement with Alex Addicted at the age of 32 years old? For the majority of Suspendas' streaming career, he made a large portion of his content about talking to women, so if he were to ever get a girlfriend or anything of that nature, he would lose a lot of content for his stream. Regardless of this, Avrom would fall head over heels for a girl he met while drunk roaming the streets of Thailand on April 18th, 2023. She told him her name was RiRi, and he said her braces were cute.
Your braces are cute.
The rest was history. From the very beginning, it was clear to everyone except for Sus himself that RiRi did not truly love him, and this relationship could be the end of him. Within just 1 month of meeting her, Avrom was already willing to dox someone for texting her, as you can see in this clip.
Do you have many other good-looking guys that like message you? Mm-hmm. You do?
No.
Who's that? Hey girls, everything right? Who's that?
You remember? I talked to you.
That guy?
Uh-huh.
That guy. I can put his number out there so everybody can blow his. Give me his number real quick. I can have everybody like this. So his name is whoever the is, motherfucker. You some dumb lay his ass on some real shit. You know what I'm saying? Light his ass up.
Based on that alone, you can tell the relationship was moving very fast and Avrom had developed real feelings for RiRi. Just 6 months after their first time meeting on October 9th, 2023, they would be married in Bangkok with all of RiRi's family and friends in attendance. Before their marriage even took place, Suspendas bought a house for around $80,000 and allowed RiRi and her entire family to live in the house. In fact, they still all live together to this day. The most interesting part about this living arrangement is how involved RiRi's mother was in the purchase of the house. On top of that, at least a portion of the payment was made in cash, as you can see in this clip of RiRi playing with a huge stack of cash on September 18th. After asking RiRi about the cash and talking about the purchase, RiRi told Suspendas that her mom would be going to finish signing the papers for the house on the following day. When Sus heard that, he immediately objected and said he wanted to go with her to make sure everything made sense, and to obviously sign for the house's ownership. The following day, on the 19th of September, Sus and RiRi's mother were supposed to go and sign for the house together, but she ended up not showing up. Later that night, Sus asked RiRi what happened to her mother, and she told him that her mom went out with friends instead. The very next day, on the 20th of September, Sus and RiRi are riding in the car, and Sus asked her when they would be finishing up the house paperwork. RiRi told him that they already did, and she sent him the paperwork digitally. I don't know why, but Sus did not question how that happened at all, since supposedly her mom was busy that day and he was not able to sign for himself. RiRi also told him that only her and his name were on the deed, which again, I'm not quite sure how that's possible if Sus was not even there to sign the paper or see any information about how the mortgage would be set up. Buying houses for an entire Thai family is just the beginning though. He also purchased 3 cars under RiRi's name and bought himself and RiRi's mother a truck. 5 vehicles in total. He claims that the cars in RiRi's name are his as well, but legally they aren't. That means if each vehicle costs $5,000 or more, he spent a minimum of $20,000 on vehicles, 4 of which are not under his name. During November of 2023, Sus was streaming himself as he bought 2 motorcycles. Of the 2 bikes he bought, supposedly the salesman put one of them in Suspendas' name and the other in RiRi's mom's name directly, because according to Sus, it was a wedding gift. The model of the bikes he got was a GSXR 150, which cost around $4,500 before tax per bike, so he most likely spent around $10,000 on these 2 motorcycles alone, and he does have 5 in total. You can really see the immaturity of Suspendas when he makes decisions like this. Instead of saving his money and investing it into real assets that can set him up for when the streaming dies out, he chose to blow it on garbage to impress his 20-year-old girlfriend. But buying her cars and giving her money just to stay at home is not enough to keep a girl like RiRi happy for long. Suspendas would also give money to RiRi for several different businesses that she attempted to build. None of them have become a success yet, but she gets a new idea every few months, so who knows, maybe one will work for them. The first business that Suspendas funded for RiRi was when they decided to start selling secondhand clothing to Thai locals. It didn't cost Sus a lot of money to buy their inventory, nothing more than $2,000 I'd say, but he really just burned that money. After a few months of RiRi trying to sell clothes on the street corner next to kratom sellers, they seem to have given up on the idea, and allegedly they gave away the rest of the inventory to people in need from their area. But Sus didn't put all his eggs in one basket. He also invested into RiRi's mom's business. He claimed that he sent her 100,000 Thai baht to start renting the warehouse, which is around $3,000 USD. Most recently, he has told his stream that RiRi and himself will be starting a new business to replace their failed clothing business. This time they will sell high-end makeup. I'm not quite sure if I believe in this makeup business of theirs, just because of Avrom's past with business, but maybe this time they will rent an actual storefront instead of selling on street corners. I've never seen him talking about profits from the mom's business or the business with RiRi. It's more like he was just acting as a piggy bank for the generic business ideas his new Thai family came up with. Throughout their entire marriage, RiRi's family has always been a constant in their life. Another big constant in their relationship has been the use of kratom tea. The first instance I can find of Suspendas and RiRi picking up kratom tea together took place on May 14th, 2023, not even a month after he first met RiRi. In the clip, you see Suspendas sitting in the car on the side of the road somewhere in Thailand. Then you hear RiRi open her door, and when she gets in, she tosses a bottle over to Avrom with a mud color liquid and some type of syrup floating at the bottom.
Damn, you got. Holy shit. What is that? That's the syrup.
Cool.
You can also hear Suspendas refer to the drink as, quote, scissor, which basically confirms that the liquid they got was kratom tea mixed with a pharmaceutical cough syrup. From May of 2023 to March of 2024, Suspendas was steadily drinking kratom tea multiple times per week, if not every day. For a while, you would not see Sus anywhere without his massive Stanley cup filled to the brim with kratom tea. He has tried to quit several times, but usually ends up starting again once the withdrawals become more intense. On March 3rd, 2024, Suspendas was streaming on Kick where he told his chat that he had officially been 7 days clean from kratom, which could all be a lie, but let's just take him at his word. He hasn't been live very much lately, but in the limited clips or streams that I've seen, he has not had his sippy cup nearby, and I haven't been able to spot any Blue Cat bottles in the background, which means he either really is clean for now or has gotten better at hiding his usage. I really hope he has stopped with the kratom though, because it can be dangerous and sometimes even fatal, which has occurred in the Suspendas community before. Despite its dangers, kratom tea is a very popular drink in Thailand. They brew kratom leaves into a tea, and sometimes they will add pharmaceutical grade cough syrup into the mix as well, which basically turns the drink into something like lean. Kratom tea by itself is not all that bad, but once you add cough syrup in, it becomes a whole new thing. Drinking the cough syrup long term will absolutely destroy your liver and is very addictive. On top of that, if you mix it with alcohol, it can turn deadly very fast, as it slows your heart rate down and affects your ability to breathe. Avrom's chat would oftentimes tell him how dangerous what he's drinking can be. Although it didn't seem to faze him, he still knew what he was getting himself into by drinking this stuff. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case for the up-and-coming IRL streamer Vexed. Before I get into the situation that occurred with Vexed and Suspendas, I want to give you some background information about Vexed. Although he was new to IRL streaming and still relatively small, he was not new to the internet or social media at all. He has a YouTube channel with over 465k subscribers, and his channel has received a total of over 45 million views. It seems that his peak era of content was around 7 years ago. As you can see by these videos, he was receiving millions of views on most of his videos. Some even reached 11 million views. He was making similar style videos to this one. He did documentaries about trending YouTubers or topics. The last video he posted was a little bit different though. Instead of a commentary, it was a video documentary talking about his experience traveling to North Korea around the years 2016 to 2017.
The truth is really quite obvious. The North Korean government is trying to kill me.
After watching a few of his videos, I can tell that Vexed was nothing like Suspendas or Ice Poseidon, even though he had been around them recently. He has always conveyed his thoughts very well and seemed to have pretty rational thinking, but this really stood out for me in his North Korea video. Overall, he seems like he was a nice, respectable guy, which makes this tragedy even more sad. On October 3rd of 2023, Vexed passed away at the young age of 26.
Just got off the phone with Vex's mother. That Vex passed away.
The cause of death has not been released to the public, so no one really knows what happened other than his family, I would assume. But there were some red flags leading up to this sad day, and I think they are worth talking about. In this clip from a Suspendas stream on July 21st, 2023, you can clearly see that Vexed had no idea what he was actually drinking. He thought it was sugar in the kratom tea, not cough syrup.
It's just got sugar in it. I wish I could get without sugar, man.
No, but that did they put something in it?
I have no idea. Can you tell?
I can tell.
I buy this on close up.
When I saw this, it became hard to not think that the stuff he was drinking might have played a role in his sudden death. The bottle he was holding was probably close to 50 ounces and it was half gone. Who knows how many of those he was drinking every day. And because he didn't know they contained cough syrup or the risks associated with it, he may have been drinking alcohol too, which is not good at all. The most disturbing part of that clip is how Sus just brushed off Vexed, asking if it was dangerous and where he could get the kratom tea without cough syrup.
Yeah, it does taste like cough syrup.
It is cough syrup, but that's what, like, some people call it lean, but it's not lean.
Is this dangerous with cough syrup?
Sus clearly knew the dangers of it, but chose to not share that when Vex was curious. But to be fair, it is not Avrom's fault that Vex was drinking liquids he knew nothing about. Between both Suspendas and Vexed, the results of drinking kratom cough syrup tea every day were not good. Ever since Sus first started drinking it, and I mean really drinking it, his content started to go downhill. I remember watching him do an RV trip across Thailand with RiRi's uncle and a few others. Every 30 minutes it felt like they were stopping to get this drink. Even once they got to their destination, they stayed for maybe a day or two and then went back to Bangkok. I'm assuming because they were out of their drink. You might be wondering, how did Suspendas afford to do all this stuff and buy all these things? Which is a great question because his streams nowadays do not represent something that deserves to live that lifestyle. Suspendas was the first verified IRL streamer on Kick and was able to secure a pretty lucrative contract for himself because of it. He was going out and creating content other than sitting at a desktop computer reacting to someone else's video, so a few thousand people would watch him regularly. From what I can see online, Suspendas had his peak sub count around 10 months ago when he had about 1,600 paid subs on Kick. In total, that brings $8,000 in sub revenue, and of that, Suspendas would get about $7,200 before taxes. On average months, he would hover around 500 subs, which would mean he usually made around $2,000 per month from his Kick subs, so he really wasn't making crazy money from his subs. Where Avrom made a lot of his money was in his Kick contract. Allegedly, he was being paid on a per hour basis for his streams. Sam Pepper claims that Suspendas was getting paid $100 per hour he streamed, which would mean for the entire duration of Suspendas' deal, where he streamed a combined 3,950 hours, he was paid $395,000, which seems absolutely insane. But overpaying influencers is nothing new, especially when it comes to stake and Kick. I really hope that Avrom is paying his taxes because that won't be a small bill. The fact that Avrom was able to mess up this deal makes me sick to my stomach. If he would have just kept doing what he was doing, he could have made millions. When he first got this deal, he was still creating watchable content, but once he got the deal, he started to slow down and just abuse his per hour pay deal. He would sit in the house for hours on end doing nothing but drinking kratom tea and ranting. I'm not sure on the exact time frame for how long this deal lasted, but I know it was not for more than a few months, purely because his streams became so unbearably boring. As of today, if you can't already tell, Avrom lost his Kick deal and his sub count is lower than ever before. He doesn't even have his sub counter on screen anymore. I'm assuming because it's so low that trolls would make fun of him for it. I'm honestly not sure how Suspendas is making money at all. He has said himself that he is not enrolled in the Kick Creator Incentive Program and his deal has been taken away. So with a dwindling sub count and no other form of income, Suspendas has to be getting worried or at least considering getting another teaching job. Part of me wants to feel bad for Suspendas and what has become of his life, but another part has no sympathy because all of this is 100% his fault and was easily avoidable. Another reason it's hard to feel bad for him is just because of some of the things he's done and the way he acts. What I think everyone can agree on is that it's sad to see someone who had so much potential just throw it all away. In my opinion, Suspendas is the perfect example of what happens when you can't face reality. If he were able to recognize that this whole relationship and life he's built for himself in Thailand is not true love, I think he would be a lot happier. I don't see any issue with an older guy paying for love, but it becomes a problem when he thinks that love is purely because of him as a person. It can get dangerous, as we've seen with Avrom. Unfortunately, he won't be able to get back the majority of the money he has wasted during his time in Thailand, but he could get back some if he were to sell off his belongings. Depending on how long he lasts with RiRi, we could see a content revival for Suspendas in the next year or two. Hopefully things work out and he does not become homeless in Thailand. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I love you. Have a good one. Peace.